Fallout is the newest series from Amazon Prime, based upon the incredibly popular video game of the same name. And in this show, we are set in a future post-apocalyptic Los Angeles, brought upon by a nuclear war. But from the ashes of war, a group of people emerge who survived the blast by hiding in vaults beneath the planet's surface. And this is where we meet Lucy, whose father is kidnapped by intruders and taken to the surface. So she sets out to rescue him, where she meets Maximus, a member of another group of survivors called the Brotherhood. Along the way, they get wrapped up in a conspiracy where they become targeted by a dangerous gunslinger called the Ghoul, played by Walton Goggins. That's all I'm going to say without spoiling anything. Before we get into the review, let's talk about some video game adaptations, shall we? When it comes to Hollywood adapting popular video game franchises, it's a pretty hit or miss bag, I would definitely say. It's definitely a lot better now compared to like what it used to be. Like, do you remember like Doom with like The Rock and Carl Urban?
Holy shit.
But as of recently, we've been getting some really good ones, or at least successful ones. Arcane and The Last of Us were both critically acclaimed by critics and fans alike, while something like the FNAF movie and the Mario movie made buckets at the box office and were really successful. So it really feels like we're in the golden age of video game adaptations, and that they're really putting effort into making these shows and movies really good, which leads us into Fallout. And I just want to stress right now, before anything, I have never played a Fallout game once in my life. I know, it's weird, and it's on my list, do not worry, but truth of the matter is, I've never played one. I do know what they are, I have seen a lot about them, I've read reviews on it, I've seen gameplay from this franchise, so I have a pretty basic understanding of some of the things in this game, and some of the things from this world in general. But you may be thinking from that, Gavin, if you've never played a Fallout game, why are you reviewing the show? And pretty much the only reason I was even slightly interested in the show is that it was getting actually pretty good ratings. And it's actually quite funny because originally people were having really big doubts about this show. Not a whole lot of people had confidence in it. People thought it was going to be lame, they thought it was going to be boring, they thought it was just going to be bad, it didn't look like what they wanted. Because from what I understand, this show isn't directly following like a specific game. It's more just a story set in the world of Fallout. And for a lot of movies and franchises, I feel like this could be just a huge red flag, where the creators don't know what to do with the proper source material, so they're like, oh, we're just going to do another story in that universe, which I think maybe sparked a little bit of the concern with this show. But honestly, after watching it, I think this is one of the best examples of not judging a book by its cover, because this is a really damn good show that I personally think is extremely faithful to some of the things, at least I know about in the games, and from what I understand, because I've done research about it just so I know my stuff, everyone else seems to have pretty much the same opinion, is that this show is pretty damn good, and it's everything that Fallout fans wanted. Starting with the fan service and the world itself. Like I've said, I've never played a Fallout game, but I do have a pretty basic knowledge. I know of some things, do not get me wrong. I know the music, I know the general vibe of the games, like, I know that sort of stuff, but I've just never played it for myself. But after watching the show and just remembering what those games are and going back and looking at them, this is pretty one-to-one. Like, I think they did a perfect job at adapting the game's overall vibe and feel into this show. From a sense of aesthetic with this 1950s futuristic style that they go for in the game and the show, which I think they do a fantastic job on both, honestly. Like, I love it. That is single-handedly, like, the most iconic thing, in my opinion, about Fallout, is that aesthetic, and the music as well. I friggin' love the music in Fallout, and this show. Like, I've had Want to Set the World on Fire stuck in my head, like, the entire week. I don't know what it is about older music like that, but I love it, and this show just had a lot of that, and just had that feel to it that I really enjoyed. The show is also surprisingly pretty funny. Like, I didn't really know what to expect in terms of that going into it, but there was a fair few times that I was chuckling. Like, there are some really funny moments in here, but even just the violence and the gore in this show, there is a lot of that in this show, and I was not anticipating that, but there's a couple moments that even I was kind of like, ooh, like, what the fuck? Like, it's a little strange. Like, specifically, I think there's one scene in the second to last episode that did get me like, ooh, what the hell? Everything about the show was pretty much spot on, and I actually really liked it. Like, I am so sad that I have to wait for a season 2 now, because they end it in such a cool and perfect way, where it sets up a second season pretty much perfectly, to a point where I am just dying to see where this story goes, because that finale episode was one of my favorite finales pretty much I've seen in recent memory. Like, I loved it. It tied everything so perfectly together. All the plot points just came together that one episode, and everything was just just explained. Everything was easy to understand, and it was great, and it felt so satisfying from a viewer point of view. But I gotta say, without a doubt, my favorite part about the show was Walter Goggins, who plays the antagonist in the show, the Ghoul. He's everything you want in an antagonist in a show. He's menacing, he's badass, he's really cool. Like, I want to stress, I love the look of him. From what I understand, he had to sit in that makeup chair for a long ass time to get looking like that, and honestly, it paid off. Like, he looks fantastic in the show. But what makes him even better is that the showrunners actually put a lot of effort into fleshing out his character with flashbacks that go back to his past before the bombs. And every time it flashed back, I was just so into it. Every single time he's on screen, the show becomes like 10 times better. Like, I'm not joking. I thought that his performance and his story in the actual show itself was fantastic to amazing. Like, I loved him, and it makes me even more excited to go into season 2, because he's probably going to be way bigger of a character, and I am so down for that because he was so good in the show. I really liked Fallout. I thought it was a great show, and I'm very excited for season 2, and that's why I'm going to give this show a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed myself watching this, but that's my opinion on Fallout. If you have a different opinion than me, leave them in the comment section below. I would love to read it. But with that, if you like this video, you can like, subscribe down below for more content on the channel coming pretty damn soon, and see you on the next one. See ya.